morning, Nigeria, and welcome to Daybreak on Trust Television. It's a beautiful Thursday morning, except we're still grappling with first casting, and the heats are upon us.
And naira scarcity as well.
And you don't have those 3-4 liters to power your generators over the night. It can be very, very uncomfortable.
Very, very indeed.
I hope you've been having a good day across the length and breadth of this country as we prepare for the final lap of this election. People would tell me on the streets, let this just come and go so that we can have our life back.
Exactly. Well, it is a beautiful Thursday morning out there. It is Trust TV's Daybreak. I am Ibrahim Yusuf.
I am Sunday Michael Ogu. We'll take you straight to the headlines this morning. Why I ordered the arrest of Bauchi Rep, Commissioner of Police.
And subsidy removal talks on palliatives not yet finalized, FG.
Nigeria's inflation consumer price index near 22% in February.
All right, now the details. The Bauchi State Commissioner of Police, Aminu Al-Hassan, has explained the reason he ordered the arrest of the member representing Bauchi Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives, Honorable Yakubu Shehu Abdullahi. Speaking with journalists on Wednesday in his office while reacting to allegations made by the immediate past Speaker of the House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara, that the police did not follow due process for ordering his arrest, CP Al-Hassan said that the lawmaker is not immune to arrest based on criminal allegations leveled against him. The Commissioner of Police said after the violence that erupted at Duguri, the governor's hometown in Al-Kaleri local government area, that left one person dead and 15 others injured, the police in the state commenced investigations. The police command had on Tuesday declared the federal lawmaker wanted for alleged criminal conspiracy, disturbance of public peace, and culpable homicide.
The federal government has said no conclusion has been reached on how to lessen the likely impact of the proposed fuel subsidy removal on the citizenry as it prepares to do away with petroleum product subsidy from the middle of 2023. The Minister of State, Budget and National Planning, Clement Agba, said this on Wednesday while fielding questions from the State House reporters after the Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. He said, although a committee headed by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo had been working for about 3 years, nothing definite has been agreed upon. Agba expressed hope that the committee working with the state governors could arrive at a common position on the matter soon. According to him, there is no timeline for the Osinbajo committee to conclude the discussion, which he said is ongoing.
And Nigeria's inflation figure has risen to 21.91% in the month of February. Data from the National Bureau of Statistics on Wednesday stated that the headline inflation rate increased by 0.09 basis points when compared to January 2023 headline inflation rate, which was 21.82%. Similarly, on a year-on-year basis, the headline inflation rate was 6.21% points higher compared to the rate recorded in February 2022, which was 15.70%. He said items that contributed to the increase are bread, cereal representing 21.67%, actual and imputed rent 7.74%, potatoes, yam and other tubers 6.06%, vegetable 5.44% and meat 4.7%. Nigerians bear their minds in this report put together by Noel Sampson.
Sellers and buyers at Utako Market blame the rise in inflation on cash crunch occasioned by the cashless policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Things are actually going up day by day in terms of prices. So I think government need to do something about this. And this issue of a cash policy and the rest of it is really affecting us.
We will come back and since in the morning, we will not see even 200 naira cash. Common money to buying of food is so free to us.
And business is not moving, nothing is moving. If you are coming to the market in the morning and you not come along with your transport fare, you will remain in the market. The customers that are coming to buy, their number has reduced because of the cashless policy now, they are no more coming and the scarcity of money.
Because I cannot meet the demand of my family anymore because of the inflation. Not that I'm not well to do, not that I cannot feed them. But the inflation has affected everything negatively on my side. I don't know whether people are finding it easy, but as for me, as a customer, I'm not finding it easy any longer. It is hard for me to feed my family 3 times a day now. It's very difficult.
No cash. So we talk about transfer, POS. The service is not good because the transfer is not going, the network is bad. And then the POS of a thing, they will charge you a lot of money in order for you to transfer money. So very, very bad.
The consensus among them is that government's policies must be people-oriented and it should avoid implementing policy that brings about hardship to the governed. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
I'd like to apologize for the mix-up before the last report. And moving on to other reports this morning, the federal government 2023 population and housing census, earlier scheduled for March 29, has been shifted to May as a result of the rescheduling of the governorship polls to March 18th. The Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, revealed this on Wednesday while briefing newsmen at the State House after the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting in Abuja. The minister also assured Nigerians that the second Niger Bridge will be inaugurated before the end of the lifespan of the present administration, which is the cabinet-approved contract for the completion of feeder route to the bridge. Kainde Amodu brings us the report.
2.8 billion naira has been approved for the National Population Commission to procure some software to be used for the conduct of the census. The NPC has consistently assured Nigerians that the headcount will be error-free because it will be conducted digitally. However, the conduct of the census has been moved to May due to the rescheduling of the governorship polls. One thing the administration is determined will not suffer delay is the completion of the second Niger Bridge.
We can tell you that the Niger Bridge itself is substantially, concluded. The road, the contract was awarded today, which work has started even before now. It's actually to connect the Asaba-Benin end to the second the new second Niger Bridge.
Speaking of feeder roads, the council also focused on the Suleja-Mina dual carriageway on Wednesday, approving an additional 25 billion naira to the original contract sum of the road, which was 9 billion naira.
The contract itself today is about 84% physically completed. But the reason why we have to ask, why the minister had to ask for a revised estimate, augmentation, is because when the road was constructed, it was not anticipated that it would become the major, source of transportation for petroleum products. If I'm correct, I think Suleja today has probably the biggest petroleum, depot in Nigeria.
Meanwhile, Minister of State for National Planning and Budget, Clem Agba, says he cannot confirm if the 2022 budget will be fully funded, despite the extension of its implementation to March this year.
As at December, we were already about 80% in terms of fund releases. We are making further releases this week to the relevant MDAs just for the purposes of payment. Like some of the work are already going on. It's just to meet up with certificates. I cannot say specifically for sure if, just like 2021, where we were able to do 100% capital releases, if we would be able to do so until when we meet on Thursday.
The minister is also not forthcoming on the removal of subsidy, as he says meetings are being convened to discuss the issue. From State House, Abuja, Kainde Amodu, Trust TV News.
Now, contesting elections in outcomes in Nigeria often leads to prolonged litigation and post-election violence as witnessed in the past. Now, in this report, Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman takes a look at historical antecedents and factors preventing politicians from accepting electoral defeat in good faith during every election cycle. His report.
A trace of Nigeria's electoral journey will reveal that election dispute started with the post-independence election of 1964, which was alleged to have been rigged in favor of one of the major political parties. The end result was widespread violence in the western part of the country that eventually led to a declaration of state of emergency. Trial and sentence of the premier of the region, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, for alleged treasonable felony. Though Nigeria witnessed a shift in the handling of post-election outcome of 1979, with a focus on electoral litigation against the victory of the then National Party of Nigeria (NPN, electoral outcomes of the 2003, 2007 and 2011 were all contested by the defeated political parties in the election.
Always been contestable. So people contest the first election, the first independence election, up to the 1979 election, up to the 1983. No. So it's like we are here.
The only election that stands out is that of the 2015, where the incumbent President Goodluck Jonathan, who lost to the candidate of the major opposition APC, Muhammadu Buhari, voluntarily conceded defeat and congratulated the winner, thereby ruling out possibility of challenging the outcome of the exercise. Even with signing of series of accords by presidential candidates prior to recent elections, accepting the outcome of the polls becomes extremely difficult. What could have been responsible for this?
As you know, did not meet the minimum standard expected of a free, transparent, credible, fair election. And I assure you that good people of Nigeria that will explore all legal and peaceful options to reclaim our mandate.
It was indeed a rape of democracy, and as such must be challenged.
So it's a general thing. They don't like accepting defeat. No matter how the result, how credible the process is.
What are the available windows for the aggrieved parties to ventilate their disagreement with the election outcome?
Previous elections, we've seen people, they never accept the elections, but they have the recourse to the law. So if you are not okay with the outcome of the elections, they are free and fine, and it's okay to actually approach the law court.
Though political observers are of the view that there is no perfect election anywhere in the world, continuous improvement in the electoral process through genuine reforms are imperative in building confidence of the electorate in the nation's electoral space. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Online payment platforms provide alternative financial services to Nigerians, especially with the introduction of the Central Bank of Nigeria's cashless policy and Naira redesign. This is, however, at a great risk of getting debit or credit alert without actual payment transfers. In this report, Yusuf Akogu speaks to Nigerians who resort to alternative means of making or receiving payments.
The Central Bank of Nigeria cashless policy almost grounded the economy to a halt as many businesses were forced to close for lack of cash for transactions. This business owner says they rely largely on alternative payment platforms. They, however, say network issue has always been a challenge.
My market don't go down. Before, by last year, so I feel do what I no even expect. We have the beg before. I no even feel anything. Sure, you understand? And now, before I know they owe. Now, because of this transaction of 18, the beginning, now I can't even open my eye. Anything where I say I go carry, I go they monitor. You never pay or transfer. The people where they get fear of God, if he bounce back, they will tell me, sir, favor, this thing don't bounce back. Oh, you understand? It's not that easy.
For me, I think this is Nigeria. I'm not surprised at all. And it actually came, and I think we've conquered it already now.
Others believe that the low broadband penetration in Nigeria is responsible for poor internet services being recorded by commercial banks and others. Amidst all these challenges, some Nigerians found other payment platforms useful to carry out their transactions.
Actually, of the OPay and other another mean, in fact, I would say they try in the sense that you can access them better than the bank.
There's not how they would do the same work a bank that the bank does. They don't. They can't even do the same work. But you know, for you to have a small transaction and all that, I think it helps. But they cannot do the work of a banking job actually, because I often noticed that some of them, they have started using ATM now, but they can still not do the same work as bank.
Financial analyst Mukhtar Mohammed said the Central Bank of Nigeria's action only revealed that the Apex Bank lacked the understanding of the policy it conceived ab initio. According to him, CBN should have learned from the United Kingdom's example.
We've seen untold hardship and loss of productivity among Nigerians by virtue of this policy. It's very, very unfortunate that a good policy that was not well thought out and was done for political reasons. And that is why we are suffering the way we are suffering. We've not seen the end, the negativity of this policy until we begin to get the data from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, NBS.
With the old Naira note now legal tender until 31st December 2023, Nigerians hope that the Central Bank of Nigeria will print more of the new note to prevent a repeat of the current suffering. Yusuf Akogu, Trust Television News, Abuja.
Meanwhile, mixed reactions continue to greet the CBN's introduction of the new Naira policy as Nigerians continue to battle with the scarcity of the Naira. And the directive of the CBN to monitor deposit banks on old Naira notes, residents of Katsina State said the directive came very late as the policy has ruined their businesses and inflicted hardship on ordinary citizens. Abdullahi Ahmadi completes the report.
People waited anxiously for the reintroduction of the old notes into the economy for over 10 days. After the Supreme Court judgment of Friday, March 3rd, nothing substantial changed. However, the central bank's statement on legal status of the old Naira notes brought relief to many. But some Katsina residents said the old Naira notes are still not available in the banks despite sufferings in the last couple of days.
Given that the directive is better than none, we can at least utilize the one we have available, that's the old Naira notes, to do our financial transaction. Because if you want to buy something, there's something that you cannot buy with a transfer or using ATM card, so you have to give them cash. That's why it is necessary for you to get the cash.
This policy has ruined our businesses. As you can see, most of us are idle. Nothing is moving. All of us here are willing to accept the old Naira notes. But where did you see it? Many of us went to the banks this morning, but the issue of scarcity remains the same, almost 48 hours after the Apex Bank directives.
Za a ce gwamnatin tarayya ta ce kaza, amma ka zo banki ba za su yi accepting da wannan abin da gwamnatin tarayya ta ce ba.
Some, however, welcome the reintroduction of the old Naira, as according to them, it will ease the difficulties being faced by Nigerians.
I don't receive any old Naira note today. Yes, we can accept it. As a law-abiding citizen, I must accept the court order. The central bank has disobeyed first, but now it accepts. As an independent marketer, I can accept. If our customers give us an old Naira note, I can accept it.
Majority of POS operators lack the cash to give to their customers, forcing many to close shop. What remains to be seen is whether in the coming days the banknotes would be available to restore hope and the confidence of Nigerians. Abdullahi Ismail, Trust Television News, Katsina.
That's it on our news reports this morning. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll serve you the newspaper headline. Please stay with us.
necessarily tribal or regional.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV's Daybreak this morning. Now it's time for us to take a look at the front pages of the newspapers. We're going to start with Daily Trust newspaper. This is the major story on the front page. Energy, cash shortages push inflation to 21.91%. And it comes here with riders as Kwara, Imo, Lagos paid more for food in February. Traders skeptical about old Naira notes and want Buhari to address nation. Mopping up Naira, not sustainable way to tackle inflation. Now, this is according to experts. Details of the story can be found on page 4. Moving down towards the bottom of the page there, as INEC deploys materials, incumbents, opposition in last-minute moves. That is also on page 4. And of course, the pictorial shows you different states where the INEC materials are being deployed, from Rivers to Kano to Bauchi, and of course, Delta states as well. At the very bottom of the front page there, Nigeria returns to UN peacekeeping operations. That is on page 24. FEC, OK's Nigeria Agenda 2050. And teacher rapes 4 siblings in Gombe. That is on page 17. Moving towards the top of the front page there, below the masthead. Crack in APC's NWC as Omishore demands 500 million naira damages from Vice Chair. That is on page 10 of the Daily Trust. Petrol subsidy removal, no conclusion yet on palliatives, according to the federal government. And elections, police redeploy 5 CPs in Kano in 1 week, and details of that can be found on page 5. Now, these are the major stories on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning.
We move on to the leadership newspaper for today, and we will be dwelling largely on stories that have not been repeated by the previous review. However, the major story here, it's crisis rocks APC National Working Committee as Omishore Lukman fights dirty over Osun campaign funds. National Secretary threatens 500 million naira label suits against Vice Chairman. He's trying to bully me, Lukman, and party keeps mum. There you have pictures from the National Executive Council meeting there with the Minister of State Transportation, as well as the Minister of Works and Housing and the National Security at their side there in Etete at Tete. And to other stories on the front pages. Front page, 17 die in Bauchi auto crashes. This is coming from the road safety. And Emir Bairo cautions against do or die politics. Kano is an important place to watch for this election. Presidential polls, NBC sanctioned 25 airing stations, 116 orders. And FG shift population census to May. Direct central bank to make Naira available, Southern Middle Belt leaders tell President Muhammadu Buhari. And finally, INEC finalizes preparations for governorship National Assembly elections. These are the major stories on the front page of the leadership newspaper.
Next, we'll take a look at the Punch newspaper. The major story on the front page is new Naira pains persist despite fresh CBN orders. And we have riders here that says queues, chaos in banking halls as scarcity worsens. Banks expect more notes from CBN before Saturday polls. Election poster, Lagos summons principal for punishing pupil. That is on page 13. FG shifts census to May. And Nigeria joins UN peacekeeping mission 10 years after exit. That is also on page 13 of the Punch newspaper. Moving towards the top of the front page there. Private sector blames Naira crisis for inflation surge. That is on page 21. Parties warn INEC against BVAS problems repeat. And fuel consumption hits 80 million daily. That is on page 21. And right beside the masthead there, Afenifere leader congratulates Tinubu, endorses Sanwo-Olu. That is another story on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Now, these are the major stories on the front page of the Punch.
And moving on to the Nigerian News Direct, this is staying with the forthcoming elections. Saturday, Guba, House of Assembly polls, FG battles fresh cybersecurity attack. With the riders there as INEC distributes sensitive materials, recirculation of old Naira notes will not revive vote trading. ICPC says it is prepared to prevent electoral fraud. Elections will be one of the best conducted in Nigeria, INEC boasts. And there we have the picture of the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who paid a visit to one of the bond markets in Lagos, where he made a donation of 100 million naira. Transcorp Hilton's Abuja wins another Traveler Review Award, the Traveler's Preferred Choice, always. And man sentenced to life imprisonment for raping 11-year-old girl. And to other stories, Joint Development Commission, Dibasco mobilizes votes for Sanwo-Olu Abiodun's re-election. These are the major stories on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct.
All right, next we'll take a look at the Nation newspaper. The major story on the front page: banks run out of old new naira notes to pay customers. And riders here, CBN fails to honor cash request. Branches shut. And I'm still talking about the Nation newspaper. Sanwo-Olu lifts Akere market victims with 100 million naira. Moving towards the top of the front page there, governorship battle hots up in Lagos, Oyo. And it says Lagos PDP chieftains defect to APC, support swells for Makinde. At the very top of the front page there, why Nigeria Air may not fly before May 29th. And food, petrol prices raise inflation to 21.91%. Now, these are the major stories on the front page of the Nation newspaper.
We move on to the blueprint next, also still staying with the polls. APC, PDP, LP in last-minute battle for Lagos, Ebonyi, Taraba, and Plateau. Gombe, Kwara, Nasarawa too. Diasporans back Sanwo-Olu, Rhodes Viver, Kes Bode's George, and Buckner's support. 6 parties gang up against Inua. PDP says APC has no candidate in Taraba. Obi leads Dukum's campaign in Plateau. Ayim backs APC in Ebonyi. And Dogara accused behind APC's Sadiq in Bauchi. Confusion in Kwara over LP PDP accord. You'll find all of these details on pages 6 and 8 of the Blueprint newspaper. And to other stories, I don't go on exile. I won't prosecute you, Tinubu. Don't go on exile. I won't prosecute you, Tinubu assures Bode George. And this is becoming dramatic. APC National Working Committee members at war over campaign funds. And 10 killed in fresh southern Kaduna attack. FGOK 16 billion for road linking second Niger bridge. And Nigeria may lose 15 trillion to Naira redesign policy, Rwani warns. And lastly, we have DMO reopens 4 FGN bonds valued at 360 billion naira. These are the major stories on the front page of the Blueprint.
All right, next we'll take a look at First News newspaper, and the major story on the front page reads: Global Terrorism Index, IPOB ranked world's 10th deadliest group and launched 40 attacks, caused 57 deaths in 2022. Towards the bottom of the front page, there, MBC sanctions 25 stations, issues final warning to 16 others. INEC to Bode George, our ICT staff, career officers, and politicians. Omishori threatens lawsuit against APC vice chairman, demands 500 million naira damages. And election, why many experienced rep members lost out, according to Bajak Yamila. And towards the top of the front page there, INEC, Wiki plotting to rig governorship polls. That is according to the opposition parties. And police will protect your votes. AIG assures Kaduna voters. Food, fuel, jack inflation to 21.9% in February. And at the very top of the front page there, governorship polls, FG shifts population census to May. These are the major stories on the front page of the First News newspaper.
And moving on to this Nigeria. We are almost ready. 48 hours to polls. INEC distributes election materials nationwide. Nigerian Broadcasting Commission sanctioned 25 stations, issue final warning to 16 others over election broadcast. And to other stories, fuel subsidy causing too much deficit. Finance Minister laments. You'll find the details of that story on page 5. And to other stories which we have not taken from previous reviews. WHO, Nigeria, 54 African countries face serious health workers shortage. You'll find the details of that on page 6. And to other stories, don't toy with Enugu people's will. Edoga tells INEC. The details of that is on page 10. These are the major stories on the front page of This Nigeria. We now have joining us in the studio, as always, the editor-in-chief, Deadline newspaper, Marlon Nasrullah. It's a pleasure to have you join us this morning.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
Thank you. So much is happening ahead of the elections, but more importantly, the economy indicators seems to be pushing out and giving us very worrying figures. Inflation has continued to swell. It has touched almost 22%, a few fractions short of 22%. And this is coming on the heels of the cash crunch and all of the assurance, both from the president and the CBN governor, that all of that policy was going to help somehow curb what appears to be a rising or an unabating inflation figures in Nigeria. Were you disappointed when these results came out, or was this something that was expected?
Actually, it was expected because so many experts have already spoken along that line. Even now that the CBN, or is it the Central Bank of Nigeria, has grudgingly, accepted the verdict of the Supreme Court, the banks are now complaining that they don't even have the amount to service their customers. And some are even saying that just like the president addressed the nation to tell us to start accepting the old 200 naira notes, probably this time around he also needs to come out to tell Nigerians, because maybe some are waiting to hear from him. But one thing about inflation is the fact that your income has not increased, but then you still have to spend more to do things that you require, things that you need to do. Like if you look at the price of bread, for instance, I'm not talking about the high-class ones that you see around.
Which is one of the issues, some of the things that were also adduced for the increases. They talked about cereal, they talked about bread, and then fuel.
And the breads that you see, especially the ones that you see with tea vendors and what have you, what you used to pay 100 naira to get, now you need 120. And like I said, you are doing that even when your income has not in any way increased. So it's actually a big issue, and I hope, like you see, the energy and cash shortages. With energy, you cannot sit in one place and say, okay, I'm not going to go out, because you need to go out. And services, goods and services also need to be moved from one point to another. And then people have no cash to do all this, especially those that are into small scale businesses, like cobblers, like those selling sachet water and what have you. You need that money, to be able to buy from them. But right now they have been turned into more of beggars, because they can't access this little money, and then people don't have enough to be able to do that. So you are now forced to trek distances that you will otherwise.
A crisis, a problem, a crisis of confidence by Nigerians on, say, the Central Bank of Nigeria, because we have also noticed that everybody is rather preferring to hold the money rather than spend it, because of the fear that when you let go of the 2,000 or 3,000 you have, there are chances that you are not able to get more.
Yeah, that's probably what the experts were saying when they said probably President Buhari should also address the nation, because I have seen so many people saying that even though the CBN has said we should start using it, honestly, I don't think I should start doing that. They are waiting for the president to come in. And I think nothing should stop the president from, I'm not saying he must address the country the way he did in the case of the old 200 naira notes, but at least even a statement, from the president, I think it will help a lot.
All right, well, from the naira scarcity, now let's talk about another pressing matter. The elections are just around the corner. We have 2 days, exactly a couple of days to the election. And INEC is saying they are almost ready. Have we seen this dance before?
Yeah, certainly. 2 days to election, if you are not ready, then when will you be ready? And I hope this time around, we are not going to have the problem of voting materials not reaching the polling units on time, and the beavers malfunctioning, you know, all the issues that we had with the last presidential and National Assembly elections. I hope we are not going to see them, because it's when things like this happen that people will now have the opportunity to come out to say, you know, we don't even agree with the processes and what have you. But when things are done transparently, then we'll probably see less of all the negative reactions.
So what we have seen in the past, concerning the previous election that was actually held, and what we're seeing in the run-up to this governorship election, can we still trust INEC to deliver?
Well, we give them the benefit of the doubt, you know, since this is a responsibility that they have to discharge. So it's for us to give them all the opportunity, you know, for them to succeed. If they don't in the end, then we can come out to say, you know, all the things that we want to say, because you have requested for money, you have been given. You have requested for even extension, you have been given. So in the end, we'll see whether all these things that you have been given are actually worth it.
And staying with the realms of politics, we have started seeing wars drumming up in the APC, and now they are fighting over campaign funds. Well, they made a lot of money. They sold tickets for 100 million, and they have well over, I mean, they made well over 2-3 billion from those sales. We saw all kinds of people whose names, whose faces we can't remember, picking up 100 million naira from, like picking up a crate of egg from a shelf. There were largely conversation around the APC not managing the spoils of war after the 2015 election. It was a house divided against itself, leading up to the 2019 election and of course, the recent election. With what is happening right now, are we beginning to see a repeat of what we saw post-2015?
Well, I don't know why the APC, you know, allowed this to come out the way it did, because you should have had, you know, an avenue where the vice chairman can now table his grievances, and then the secretary will have the opportunity to also respond. But right now, the reverse seems to be the case. And if you look at it, I don't see anything big, any problem with, you know, somebody calling you to account for money that has been given to you. And all these threats of going to court, I don't think they are necessary. The person who is making the allegations should be ready to provide the evidence. And then you that is being accused, you also have your own opportunity to say your own side of the story. It's not something that we have to start saying, okay, I'm demanding for 500 million naira damages when we have not even had the issues. Right now, what Nigerians will want to hear is, okay, the campaign money that came to you, how were they expended? And then what happened to the national body? Why did you allow this to like come out in the way that it did? Like I said, they must have had so many opportunities to discuss this in one of their many meetings, which happened after the Osun governorship election. But the fact that we are now seeing it, probably, like you said, it's a pointer to other serious issues that are being like probably brewing, and by the time they come out, we may see things that we don't even expect.
All right. Well, let's move away slightly from that. I mean, we've had occasions to discuss with you on this program about one project that has remained elusive, should I say. It's turning into almost a white elephant project right now. A logo was launched, so much fanfare and branding and everything. We did lots of noise was made about our new national carrier. a pre-agreement was signed with a particular company that fell through and something else came in, another agreement was signed, lots of noise has been made about that, people saying that it wasn't. Now we're hearing finally that Nigeria Air may not fly before May 29th. So when will it actually, or even will it?
Well, honestly, I don't see it as something important. The minister shouldn't have even said anything because we all know the position. Right now, right from time, we actually mentioned that looking at the remaining days of this administration, honestly, we may not be able to see any Nigerian air, by May 29. But they keep talking about it. So that they will now justify all the money, that has been expended on the logo, on hiring consultants, on, all the things that are not even important as far as having an airline is concerned. Because what Nigerians will want to see is to go to the airport and see a plane, with all the Nigeria Air logo and what have you. But right now, we don't seem to be heading in that direction. So that's why I don't even think it's important for the minister to be dwelling so much on the issue of Nigeria.
No, maybe because he boxed himself into a corner with it so many times. I mean, like he's given so many deadlines for himself to launch it. Well, so maybe that's why he's trying as much as possible to see that he gives excuses to Nigerians so that they'll know that he's probably working on it.
Yeah, it's just like what Nigerians will say, that the Oyinbo man that did pencil, also did an eraser. So that anytime you misfire, you now have the opportunity to clean it. So honestly, unless the minister is trying to tell us something that we have not had before, I don't think he should be spending time dwelling on the Nigerian air issue again.
Interesting. Maybe we have a Nigerian air in the presidential fleet. It's one of the biggest fleets, even compared to commercial carriers in Nigeria. The presidential fleet seems to have more fleets than carriers in Nigeria. We could start from there. This president promised it from the start, but somehow I think he enjoyed the fanfare because he's headed to one part of the world. With one, the wife is headed in an opposite direction, and the children are headed somewhere else with the presidential fleet. Yeah. Maybe he just realized that there weren't even enough in the presidential fleet to talk of bequeathing some to the Nigerian project. But we move on to another story that the Punch newspaper carried today, which was that Nigeria has rejoined the UN peacekeeping mission 10 years after exit. And one wonders, we are grappling with insufficient police personnel in Nigeria. We saw how there that is in this election, where it was even difficult to find the right numbers to police a state with all of the issues that we saw. What is there to gain in the peace mission when we have not been able to put our house together? Is there any sense in going back to this?
Yeah, I think it's very important, Nigeria being a player, in the Committee of Nations. If you contribute, in solving the problem of one member, then you will now have the right, to also demand for same. But when you fail to do your own part of, it's not like compulsory, for nations to do that. But when you show concern and, show the world that despite the fact that you are having your own challenges, you are also concerned about the level of insecurity and other problems that are happening around the globe. But so many Nigerians will argue, and I think they have a right to do that. Right now we are faced with so many challenges, not just what the police can handle, even the military. I have seen so many reports recently saying that in fact, it has been in the media for quite some time that we are, if you look at the military deployment around the country, in about 30 or so states. So it's like we have that need for more manpower in that regard. So when we don't have enough, why should we start thinking of going out. I think the authorities should be able to disabuse the minds of those who think this is unnecessary. This is something that you shouldn't be doing when you have your own challenges to face back at home.
Well, speaking about challenges being faced back at home, First News actually carries the headline that according to the Global Terrorism Index, IPOB was actually ranked world's 10th deadliest group. And we have some alarming figures here coming. They launched 40 attacks and they actually caused 57 deaths in 2022. Are we doing enough?
Well, even if we are doing enough, honestly, I find it difficult to stomach stories like this. Because what are we trying to say? It's not something positive. It's not something that we should celebrate with a major headline, the way we are doing. But of course, if you maybe tap into the thinking of the editors, it's always good to bring this to the fore so that at least the government, the authorities will see, the need to actually act so that something like this will not keep worsening. But apart from that, what is there to celebrate? That a non-state actor is killing 57 people in 2022. If you look at those who have been affected one way or the other, honestly, this is not a story that they will want to hear. But for IPOB, this is all they need to show that, yes, what they are doing is making the right impact. They can't be ignored anymore and things like that.
So maybe the idea behind the story is, they feel maybe enough is not being done, or the story is always being underreported, and they feel they need to bring it to the fore, just like you made mention earlier.
So that's why the government should use this as an opportunity to see what they are not doing right, so that even if that is their aim, to be in the news for all the negative reasons, you don't give them that opportunity. But right now we have allowed them the air to breathe, we have allowed them the space to operate. So anytime you see things like this, you have no one but yourself to blame. That's just the fact.
Talking about negative stories, the Punch is reporting today, according to the NNPC, that fuel consumption has hit 80 million liters daily. And I keep wondering, I struggled to get fuel at regulated price yesterday when I make a quick dash to Niger State. And when you see figures like this, you just wonder, does somebody just sit and compile these figures, or there are systemic templates, if you like, or data that sort of supports this guy? At some point, in fact, when we hit 40 million, it was a scandal. And somehow it has continued. We have doubled is this just to justify the subsidy payment, or they are just playing a voodoo on us?
That's my thinking. Right now you said you are spending close to 400 or even billion, more than that, 400 billion monthly on subsidy. So without coming out with figures like this, Nigerians will keep asking questions. And okay, even the Customs Controller General once said that, and I think the Chief of Naval Staff also said it, that if you look at all the allegations that the NNPC is making about maybe smuggling, oil theft and what have you, for you to be able to steal that amount of fuel, you will need like 500 trucks, and just imagine seeing 500 trucks, in one place, and then the amount that they will be able to carry. So honestly, I don't see this as anything outside the attempt to justify the money that we keep spending on subsidy. So whoever is coming in after May 29, I think he has a responsibility, to investigate this claim, so that Nigerians will know. It's not just for, okay, why don't you be transparent about this, so that if you have the figures, allow us to see them,
and
so that we will see. But right now, what you said is the only thing that we have. We don't have any other thing to counter it.
Well, so the National Assembly challenged them the last time. They said they are now a private company, so they should allow them some time to breathe.
Well, even if they are a private company, at least government, they are owned by the government. And whatever the government owns, you know, the relevant authorities should be able to play that role, oversight function and what have you. Just because you are a business entity does not mean we should not look into your books. Even commercial entities, private concerns, they do auditing. They audit their books and what have you. So what are you trying to tell Nigerians? If you are sincere, if you think, yes, you have the figures to back up your claim, why don't you, present them so that at least Nigerians will see and then be able to take the right decision.
All right. Well, talking about the subsidy, the fuel subsidy, Daily Trust is actually reporting that the federal government is saying they have not concluded on the palliatives yet that they're going to push forward once subsidy is eventually removed. Do you see that as something realistic, removing subsidy and then cushioning the effects? What can they do to do that?
Well, probably I think there is a political capital to gain out of the removal of the subsidy. If not, honestly, I think you should just allow the incoming administration to worry about all that. Because if by now you still don't know what palliatives to come up with or the things that you need to do before doing away with the subsidy altogether, then I think it's better for you to just serve out the remaining days and allow the incoming administration, which I believe by now, should have started thinking along that line, because the president-elect had already said that during the campaigns, that whether Nigerians like it or not, whether they will cry or not, he is going to remove subsidy. And honestly, if you look at the numbers, why should you be spending 400 billion naira monthly on something that you have to go to the black market to buy? It's not as if we are getting this thing from the filling stations. If you remove Abuja and then maybe 1 or 2 states, all the other states, you need to go to the black market has to be able to buy fuel. So honestly, I don't think the government should continue worrying itself about subsidy with just a little above 2 months to go. Honestly, I think the incoming administration should worry about things like that.
All right. Well, on that note, I think we'll wrap up the newspaper review segment for today on Daybreak. Nasrullah, thank you very much for coming, as always.
Thank you for the opportunity.
It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right. Well, it's still Daybreak right here on Trust TV. We'll take a short break, and when we return, it will be top of the hour, and the program continues. To stay with us.
But in a situation where you find that look at the
not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that.
TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
That's great.
All right, hello and welcome. If you're just joining us, it is Trust TV's Daybreak right here this beautiful morning. And if you've been with us since 7 a.m., we've been here. And of course, it's top of the hour, 8 o'clock. I am Ibrahim Yusuf.
And Sunday, Michael Ogo, it's a pleasure to have you join us again.
Yes, it's always a pleasure to have you with us. Right now, we'll take the headlines on the hour. Election materials, PDP, Atiku withdraw court application against INEC.
And subsidy removals talks on palliative not yet finalized, FG.
And Nigeria's inflation consumer price index nears 22% in February.
And to the details, the People's Democratic Party and its presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, has withdrawn an application they filed to compel the Independent National Electoral Commission to allow their agents to participate in the process of sorting out ballot papers that were used for the February 25th presidential elections. A member of Atiku's legal team who did not want this name mentioned disclosed that the decision to withdraw the application was an outcome of a meeting with his legal team held with the leadership of the electoral body on Tuesday. Both the PDP and Atiku, who are separately challenging the outcome of the election that was declared in favor of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the candidate of the All Progressive Congress, told the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, sitting at the Court of Appeal in Abuja, that they have deemed it fit to discontinue the application.
And the federal government has said no conclusion has been reached on how to lessen the likely impacts of the proposed fuel subsidy removal on the citizenry as it prepares to do away with petroleum product subsidy from the middle of 2023. The Minister of State, Budget and National Planning, Clement Agba, said this on Wednesday while fielding questions from State House reporters after the Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari at the Presidential Villa. He said, though a committee headed by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo had been working for about a year, nothing definite had been agreed upon. Agba expressed hope that the committee working with state governors would arrive at a common position on the matter soon. According to him, there is no timeline for Osinbajo committee to conclude the discussion, which he said is ongoing.
Moving on, Nigeria's inflation figure has risen to 21.91% in the month of February. Data from the National Bureau of Statistics on Wednesday stated that the headline inflation rate increased by 0.9 basis point, when compared to January 2023 headline inflation rate, which was 21.82%. Similarly, on a year-to-year basis, the headline inflation rate was 6.21 percentage points higher compared to the rate recorded in February 2022, which was 15.70%. It said the items that contributed to the increase are the bread and cereal, representing 21.6%, actual and imputed rent 7.7%, potatoes, yam, and other tubers 6.06%, vegetable 5.4%, and meat 4.7%. Nigerians bear their minds in this report put together by Noel Sampson.
Sellers and buyers at Utako Market blame the rise in inflation on cash crunch, occasioned by the cashless policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Things are actually going up day by day in terms of prices. So I think government need to do something about this. And this issue of a cash policy and the rest of it is really affecting us.
We will come back and since in the morning, we will not see even 200 naira cash. Common money to buying of food is so free to us.
And business is not moving, nothing is moving. If you are coming to the market in the morning and you not come along with your transport fare, you will remain in the market. Customers that are coming to buy, their number has reduced because of the cashless policy now, they are no more coming and the scarcity of money.
Because I cannot meet the demand of my family anymore because of the inflation. Not that I am not well to do, not that I cannot feed them, but the inflation has affected everything negatively on my side. I don't know whether people are finding it easy, but as for me, as a customer, I'm not finding it easy any longer. It is hard for me to feed my family 3 times a day now. It's very difficult.
No cash. So we talk about transfer, POS. The service is not good because the transfer is not going, the network is bad. And then the POS of a thing, they will charge you a lot of money in order for you to transfer money. So very, very bad.
The consensus among them is that government's policies must be people-oriented and it should avoid implementing policy that brings about hardship to the governed. Noel Sampson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now it's time for us to take a look at reports on the hour. The federal government says the 2023 population and housing census, earlier scheduled for March 29th, has been shifted to May as a result of the rescheduling of the governorship polls to March 18th. Now, Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, revealed this on Wednesday while briefing newsmen at the State House after the weekly meeting of the Federal Executive Council. The minister is also assuring Nigerians that the second Niger Bridge will be inaugurated before the end of the lifespan of the present administration, which is why the cabinet approved the contract for the completion of feeder roads to the bridge. Kende Amodu reports.
2.8 billion naira has been approved for the National Population Commission to procure some software to be used for the conduct of the census. The NPC has consistently assured Nigerians that the headcount will be error-free because it will be conducted digitally. However, the conduct of the census has been moved to May due to the rescheduling of the governorship polls. One thing the administration is determined will not suffer delay is the completion of the second Niger Bridge.
We can tell you that the Niger Bridge itself is substantially, concluded. The road, the contract was awarded today, which work has started even before now, is actually to connect the Asaba-Benin end to the second the new second Niger Bridge.
Speaking of feeder roads, the council also focused on the Suleja-Mina dual carriageway on Wednesday, approving an additional 25 billion naira to the original contract sum of the road, which was 9 billion naira.
The contract itself today is about 84% physically completed. But the reason why we have to ask, why the minister had to ask for a revised estimate, augmentation, is because when the road was constructed, it was not anticipated that to become the major source of transportation for petroleum products. If I'm correct, I think Suleja today has probably the biggest petroleum, petroleum depot in Nigeria.
Meanwhile, Minister of State for National Planning and Budget, Clem Agba, says he cannot confirm if the 2022 budget will be fully funded, despite the extension of its implementation to March this year.
As at December, we were already about 80% in terms of fund releases. We are making further releases this week to the relevant MDAs just for the purposes of payment. Like you know, some of the work are already going on. It's just to meet up with certificates. I cannot say specifically for sure if just like 2021 where we were able to do 100% capital releases, if we would be able to do so until when we meet on Thursday.
The minister is also not forthcoming on the removal of subsidy, as he says meetings are being convened to discuss the issue. From State House, Abuja, Kehinde Modu, Trust TV News.
Moving on to next report. Online payment platforms provide alternative financial services to Nigeria, especially with the introduction of the Naira redesign and cashless policy of the federal government of Nigeria, of the Central Bank of Nigeria. This is, however, at a great risk of getting debit or credit alert, but without actual payment. In this report, Yusuf Akogu speaks to Nigerians who resort to alternative means of making or receiving payments.
The Central Bank of Nigeria cashless policy almost grounded the economy to a halt, as many businesses were forced to close for lack of cash for transactions. This business owner says they rely largely on alternative payment platforms. They, however, say network issue has always been a challenge.
My market don't go down. Before, by last year, so I feel do what I know even expect. We have the beg before. I not even feel anything. She don't understand. And now, before I know they owe. Now, because of this transaction of 18, the beginning, now I can't even open my eye. Anything where I say I go carry, I go they monitor. You never pay or transfer. The people where they get fear of God, if he bounce back, they will tell me, sir, favor, this thing don't bounce back. Oh, she understand. It's not that easy.
For me, I think this is Nigeria. I'm not surprised at all. And it actually came, and I think we've conquered it already now.
Others believe that the low broadband penetration in Nigeria is responsible for poor internet services being recorded by commercial banks and others. Amidst all these challenges, some Nigerians found other payment platforms useful to carry out their transactions.
Actually, of the OPay, another mean, in fact, I would say they try, in the sense that you can access them better than the bank.
Because not how they would do the same work a bank that the bank does. They can't even do the same work. But you know, for you to have a small transaction and all that, I think it helps. But they cannot do the work of a banking job, actually, because I often noticed that some of them, they have started using ATM now, but they can still not do the same work as bank.
Financial analyst Mukhtar Mohammed said the Central Bank of Nigeria's action only revealed that the Apex Bank lacked the understanding of the policy it conceived ab initio. According to him, CBN should have learned from the United Kingdom's example.
We've seen untold hardship and loss of productivity among Nigerians by virtue of this policy. It's very, very unfortunate that a good policy that was not well thought out and was done for political reasons. And that is why we are suffering the way we are suffering. We've not seen the end, the negativity of this policy until we begin to get the data from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, NBS.
With the old Naira note now legal tender until 31st December 2023, Nigerians hope that the Central Bank of Nigeria will print more of the new note to prevent a repeat of the current suffering. Yusuf Akogu, Trust Television News, Abuja.
Meanwhile, mixed reactions continue to greet the central bank's directive to money deposit banks on old Naira notes. Residents of Katsina said the directive came very late, as the policy has ruined their businesses and inflicted hardship on ordinary citizens. Abdullahi Ahmadi reports.
People waited anxiously for the reintroduction of the old notes into the economy for over 10 days. After the Supreme Court judgment of Friday, March 3rd, nothing substantial changed. However, the central bank's statement on legal status of the old Naira note brought relief to many. But some Katsina residents said the old Naira notes are still not available in the banks despite sufferings in the last couple of days.
Given that the directive is better than none, we can at least utilize the one we have available, that's the old Naira notes, to do our financial transaction. Because if you want to buy something, there's something that you cannot buy with a transfer or using ATM card, so you have to give them cash. That's why it is necessary for you to get the cash.
This policy has ruined our businesses. As you can see, most of us are idle. Nothing is moving. All of us here are willing to accept the old Naira notes. But where did you see it? Many of us went to the banks this morning, but the issue of scarcity remains the same, almost 48 hours after the Apex Bank directives.
Za a ce gwamnatin tarayya ta ce kaza, amma ka zo banki ba za su yi accepting da wannan abin da gwamnatin tarayya ta ce ba.
Some, however, welcome the reintroduction of the old Naira, as according to them, it will ease the difficulties being faced by Nigerians.
I don't receive any old Naira note today. Yes, we can accept it. As a law-abiding citizen, I must accept the court order. The central bank has disobeyed first, but now it accepts. As an independent marketer, I can accept. If our customers give us an old Naira note, I can accept it.
Majority of POS operators lack the cash to give to their customers, forcing many to close shop. What remains to be seen is whether in the coming days the banknotes would be available to restore hope and the confidence of Nigerians. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
That's it on our stories on the hour. We'll take a short break. When we return, our first discussion will be happening. Please stay with us. To support Africa's goal of strengthening.
Now, looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130.
Created a Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secure are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the.
Already, if you look at England's squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at.
documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back. Next discussion is one I'm sure would interest you. Nigeria is one of the leading business locations in Africa. While that sounds promising, there are significant challenges to doing business in Nigeria. Inadequate facility for power supply, telecommunication, access to good road, network, and water supply constitute the major constraints to facing business survival in Nigeria. Added to this recently is the Naira scarcity arising from the CBN cashless policy. And let us discuss more. We have in the studio the Chief Executive Officer of AAA Investments, Ali Ahmed Arzwani. He is also the CEO of the popular Alibaba restaurant. It's safe for me to call him a white Nigerian. Good morning, Arzwani.
You know, I can't take the name of given to my friend. But you can say they call me Farim Bahaushe.
Interesting.
Which is easier.
Which is easier, which is a variation of Farim Bahaushe. Interesting.
You know, white Nigerians is a friend of mine, is a relative.
Oh,
so, yeah, but they call me Farim Bahaushe.
Interesting. I was just, we were discussing behind the scene. I'm not sure I can give you all of that details. You have to pay me to know more. You are a small business operator. Well, and that's a very big name. Small business in parentheses. Practically a Nigerian born in this country. You have paid your due, whether in Kaduna where you were born or in Abuja where you operate. And you have seen some of the challenges that business operators endure.
Of course.
You know, recently exacerbated by these cash constraints, because you run the kind of business where people come in, buy whatever they want from you, and just dip their hands in their pockets and pay.
That's true.
We know that there have been efforts to go cashless in some cases where people can also play with PTM. But how much has this distortion, you know, impacted your business in the last couple of weeks or months?
Coming to talk about cash, for now we can't go cashless. All my life I used to say, okay, will that day come that will be cashless? Okay, everything will be on the phone, maybe I transfer, you know. But right now in the situation where we are, okay, there is no cash, but there's a big problem in the network of the banks. There's a big problem in the POS. People pay. It doesn't enter directly. You'll have to wait. Someone made a payment 3 days ago. We didn't receive it yet. He has to go to his bank. It's a big problem, you know. No, cash is something important in life. There are some things you need to pay in cash. You cannot buy granite and transfer to the lady or to the man, you know.
That is making, because the transfer fee is increasing, is adding to the cost of a transaction.
Of course.
So how have you coped How has businesses like yours coped? And I know you talk to a lot of other people who run different kind of. What have you been able to do to keep your shops open?
We're trying to manage, and trying to manage is okay. You're at loss, but you're still standing.
For how long can you continue to do that? Is that sustainable?
That is a good question. Is that the period of time that you can continue? Because there are a lot of businesses that are maybe stronger than mine. They've closed because they are looking at the future. They can't continue with that. So we're trying to see for now the solution they're going to bring for us, the new government, to see how they will improve on it, so that businesses can continue. So that they can try and make it easier for businesses to continue. We have investments, we have investors. Investors are scared now to put their money in. They are waiting to see where the country is going to. Okay, we can say that it's not only in Nigeria. In other countries, there's the same thing is going on. But we're the giant of Africa.
Interesting. So, coming directly from the mouth of people who are directly involved in driving jobs at the lowest level, how has this been for your staff? The number of people you employ, have you been able to sustain them within this period? Did you have to let them go? What kind of sacrifices did they have to endure?
I can't tell you that I still have the same number as last year or the year before. No, I had to reduce. But we have a problem in Nigeria is that the staff, no matter how many years they work for you, there's a day they're gonna go. Okay, few of them, they had to leave, whereby, okay, I wasn't happy for them leaving. But the ones that are still available, well, I'm trying my best, to keep them with me so that we can cope with this period of time where as soon as we have solution to the business and everything, we can continue. But of course, we've reduced.
All right, so prior to the cash crunch, because the cash crunch is rather recent, what were the major challenges that you were facing as a business? You understand, prior to the cash crunch, that is.
Okay, we passed in a period of time where insecurity was all over. People were scared. Right in front of my eyes, I saw someone stealing a lady's bag and running away, and people were looking at him. Another day, I saw someone beating another guy for money, for 500 naira, which is nothing. You see people chasing each other for 500 naira, just right in front of your eyes, and no one will interfere into that. No one will come in. And security is very important, especially what happened between Kaduna and Abuja, which we thank God, it passed. But security. And see, for the new government, I think they should concentrate well on security so that investors that are coming from outside the country, they can feel free to come and put their money in Nigeria.
Let's talk about small business in itself. There had been talked about how if we need to move at the pace that other countries had developed, then we must empower small businesses, whether it is by providing the infrastructures that are necessary for them to thrive, because they are the quickest employers of labor. Because if they're talking about 37 million of you, if they can do just one more person, we would have been talking about another 30 million people employed. You have played in this space all your life. What do you think, other than security, we need to fix to get people? Because even getting to register companies can be a lot of headache. What do we need to do, from your time in this space that we can use to encourage those who are already in, and then open up the space for more people to come in?
There's a problem that, let's say, okay, I have this business, another person has like my business, but he doesn't want me to improve and I don't want him to improve. We need to be advising each other. That is the first thing. Second thing, like they should give a chance. The way right now, you can go into Google Store, download an application, open a bank account right now. They should make it easy for people to pay their taxes. Apart from paying their taxes, okay, registering companies, but you know, like you have to give them all the information before you become registered. They should make it easier, because right now for you to register a company, you need to go from you to him, to him, to him. At the end of the day, you reach to the place where you're going to, which is you have to pay here, pay there, pay there, pay there. You're just paying. You'll see, okay, for the taxes, they will come. You have to pay this guy, pay the other one, pay this one. Then at the end of the day, you see yourself, okay, whoa, I've paid a lot. You know? They should fix prices that are reasonable for the taxes, for everything. Reasonable in a way that, okay, this is, let's say, this is a small business. This small business can pay this amount, but not to come to this small business and make them pay just like the other big business. There's a difference.
All right, so generally now, with what you've just said, is it safe to assume that doing business in Nigeria is not easy? Because we talk about ease of doing business here and there.
You know, right now in the situation, it's not easy.
Okay.
Right now, it's for the strong. You know, the strong that can continue standing. But till when that strong person can continue standing, no one knows. I'm telling you, there are a lot of businesses that you will never think they will close up. You will never think, because money has been spent on them. Suddenly you see they shut down. Why? Business is going back. And when I see such, you know, such things, they'll be like, okay, if they close, then what am I gonna do? I need to stay standing. So we have to manage this period of time. But I'm sure everything will be better soon. It's just the matter of this election period.
Okay.
So I'm sure you've been to other climes. Originally, your parents came in from somewhere. What kind of lessons do you think we can borrow? Because it appears you are coming from a family of merchants who have been business people for centuries. You know, it's dating back several hundreds of years. What are those unique lessons we can learn to expand? Because what we need, we are churning out people that cannot all go into government jobs.
Of course.
You know, everybody needs to find something where we can add value to the society. What lessons are there for us to learn in replicating more successful small businesses?
You know, in this matter, I respect the Igbo people. Why?
By the way, he had mentioned to me that his name is Chinedu. Am I correct?
You're right. You know, people in business, I really respect them, because they work hand in hand. They work hand in hand. Like there was a joke that one day I heard. They were like, okay, there's an Igbo guy. A customer came in and he said he wants a Samsung TV. Why he doesn't have? He told him I have. And he made sure he went to get the TV. And how, in what way? He was like, let's go to our second shop. Whereby they went to the second shop. How far now? Where did you put the Samsung TVs? He was talking to the other guy like the shop is his own. He sold the TV and everything, and they work hand in hand. It's good to work hand in hand. I will improve, you will improve, and we'll be in another level. You know, so we need to work in that way. Working in that way, everyone will be happy. Not that, okay, because I have this business, you have another business, I will hate on you. No. Let's work hand in hand. When we work hand in hand, we'll improve, all of us.
We're talking about working hand in hand. Do you guys have like, is there like a platform whereby business owners such as yourself actually, entrepreneurs sit down and deliberate and talk about issues?
There's no platform, but we have, like, me and a few of my friends, where we sit and we talk about business, how business is going, and what we need to do to improve on our businesses. So this is something that a lot of people should be doing. Because not because I have a restaurant and you have a restaurant, we shouldn't be talking. No, we can talk. I can advise you. You can advise me. I can tell you maybe, oh, the other day I tasted something in your place where I felt, you know, don't hate on me. No, I'm advising you. And the same thing, you can advise me too.
So the name Alibaba.
Yeah.
Every time we hear it, we know what strikes our head. And now there is an Alibaba restaurant. Does it have anything to do with the global Alibaba chain?
We started in the year 2000. I was 10 years old. My father started the place and he was like, I'm going to call it Alibaba. You're Ali and I'm Baba, so it's Alibaba.
Okay.
I was like, okay, but don't worry, if people ask about Alibaba and the 40 thieves, I have a good answer for that. My top selling dish is chicken, grilled chicken. So anytime they ask me, okay, Alibaba, why are the 40 thieves? I'll say, no, I have 40 chickens, not 40 thieves. So they'll be like, okay, so you don't have 40 thieves, you have 40 chickens? I was like, yeah, try the chicken, you know.
All right, so we would take a short break at this point. You don't want to go away. When we return, Ali will be discussing several other things, including how he is perceived, whether as an imported business or one that started bottom up from Nigeria. You can be sure he's very, very Nigerian, but we would get all of that perspective from him. Please stay with us.
That's great.
Welcome back. It's still Trust TV's Daybreak right here. And of course, we're talking business and how easy it is to do business in Nigeria. And of course, the current challenges with the cash crunch and every other thing in between. We're talking to Ali Ahmed Arzouni. He is the CEO of the popular Ali Baba restaurant. And during the break, we were actually discussing and we were talking about how you're actually perceived. You're born and brought up in Nigeria. And definitely with the way you look, people will ascribe certain perceptions exactly about you and you. Have you seen any? Is there any stigma directed towards you because of that?
Well, you know something, in the whole world, there's this, you know, I don't know, like, okay, they differentiate in the race and the color, whereby I was born and brought up in a country where, okay, up till today, there are some people, few people, they will let you feel like you're not from them. A lot of people, I'll hear words from here, words from there, you know, like someone saying Hausa, Kinga Baturin, you know, or you pass by Onyocha, you know, I'll be like, come on guys, we're all human beings, we shouldn't differentiate, we're the same. And especially when you answer them in their language, that is where they will like, okay, this guy, like a lot of people will be like, come on guys, it's bleaching, I bleached. I'm a full Nigerian, come on.
Interesting. Yeah, but has that affected you in a business sense?
No, at all.
Okay.
You know, the name has been there since the year 2000. You're talking of 23 years now. We have a lot of, I can't say customers, I can say family. Okay. Because whoever comes to my place, he comes to rest. You know, like they feel at home. It's, you know, home away from home. And they have everything. You know, they come, they eat, have good time, and they go back at the end of the day to their home. Because most people, let's say, they stay alone here, especially in Abuja. Okay. So when they want to go back home to cook, and then they're tired from work, so they come, their food is ready, they have a good time, then they go back home. And I have, you know, like, why I said family, because most of them are always available, always, every day. I have people that every day I see them.
Is that how, what is that lesson we need to learn from the Lebanese community? Because you talked about family. I see that a lot in Kano. Yeah. Everybody is in the business. Everybody has got their brothers, sisters, fathers, mothers. It's sort of, everybody sort of emancipate themselves. And when you talk to them, they will tell you it dates back to their grandparents. How do you succeed in entrenching that culture? Because we've tried it here, but children come up and they are not interested in the family business at all. They want to do their own thing. What is it you do that sort of get everybody in the family interested in the family business and keeps it running for generations?
You know, when you're away from home, okay, here's also home. But when you're away, there's a lesson that you always learn. Okay, when I grow up, if I go into my dad's business, I can do other things on my own also. But it's a lesson that, because in Lebanon is a small country. Kaduna is bigger than Lebanon 4 times. See how Lebanon is small. We know what's going on there. Similar problems are here in Nigeria, but still in Nigeria. See, Nigeria is a blessing. It's a blessing. Why? My dad told me once, listen, Nigeria, if you dig and you you plant iron, it will give you a tree. Because God has blessed this land, you know. So when you grow up, you see, okay, the way your dad has been working to make you who you are now. You like also to be like him. This is in most Lebanese. You know, that's why they call us the Igbos of Middle East.
Interesting. Listening to you and looking at what this country is dealing with, if you look at the last 6, 8, or even more years, we have seen people who have failed to see the opportunities in this country. You know about the jackpot syndrome, of course. You're discussing with one man eating chicken in a restaurant today, and the next day, when you talk to him, he's responding from London or he's responding from the US and all of that. Why is it difficult for Nigerians to also recognize opportunities the way it is easy for the Indians, the Lebanese, by extraction, because most of them are now Nigerians, by the way. Why is it difficult for our people to see opportunities in this country the way because they go outside and do the same thing they ought to have done at home and probably succeed?
Of course. You know, a lot of people, they don't believe in this country, even though they are from this country. Why? Because they see, okay, if I go now to London, okay, they will say, he went to London. Why? Why don't we make Abuja London? Or Kaduna London? You know? Sorry, I'm calling Kaduna London. Kaduna is a place in my heart. So I used to ask a lot of people, okay, why do you send your children to study outside? Well, we have universities in Nigeria. They don't have an answer. They don't have an answer. Why do you invest your money outside the country whereby you can do something very nice in this country? They can't answer you. But you know, it's to show off. I have investments here, I have investments there. You know? See, a good friend of mine, Obi Kubana, I respect him a lot. You know why? This is someone that empowers the youth. And all his businesses are inside the country. All his businesses. He had the opportunity to open a lot of businesses outside the country. But no, he is someone that likes his country. You know, that's a very good symbol of a Nigerian. He has. I know a lot of opportunities he got to invest outside the country, and he said no. And once we sat down, and he said it. He said, I want to make something for this country. We have a lot that you know, that are going to come into this country. This country is a blessed country. Trust me. Well, let's work hand in hand in it.
All right. Well, talking about blessings and opportunities and the rest of it. So apart from restaurant business, are you into other things as well?
Well, I'm into Bitcoin mining.
Okay.
Yeah. This is something that a lot of people don't know about it. A lot of people, if you talk to them about it, they'll be like, what is it? They're scared about it. But you know, it's something that you follow the Bitcoin. When it's going up, you're getting good, you know, profit. When it's going down, you have to manage. But the way it goes up and down, it's a short time, you know.
Well, but that's that's the thing now. So let's look at every business comes with an element of risk.
Yeah, of course,
attached to it. So now you have a restaurant on one hand and you're mining Bitcoin on the other. How's the risk factor when you balance the two together?
You know, like okay, the mining covers the other side.
Okay.
For now.
Okay.
In what way? That right now, okay, let's say Bitcoin is high, while because of the business is slow in the restaurant, so I try to cover the other side. But the restaurant cannot cover the mining.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the mining source of props up the restaurant now, as it is now.
You know, because you need something to support for you to stay standing.
So do you encourage other business owners to actually do something like that? I mean,
well, yeah, they should have a second business that can support their first business, so that they can stay standing. But it's just a short period of time. I'm sure about that.
Okay. So If the president-elect is listening to you as a major player in the SME sector, what are those things that worry you so much that you want to see fixed so that people in businesses can move quickly, employ more people, and do their business unhindered?
As I told you, first of all, security. If I was for one day a president, I will come with a target, one target. I won't take more than that. I will work on it for the 4 or 5 years. Then I'll say I succeeded in working on this target. See, I'm sure they cannot work on everything together, but they should put a target to work on. When they work on it, it's easier. They should give chance to investors coming from outside the country. Listen to them. Not only concentrate on one side. No, there are a lot of people that can come and invest in this country. They are investing. They are bringing more employment opportunities for Nigerians. Okay, they are gonna get. Okay, they will profit from it. But also the government is profiting from it.
Are you talking to any of such investors? What areas do you think they are generally interested in when it comes to investing in Nigeria?
I talk to a lot of investors, but right now they're scared because of the, elections. They're waiting for the elections period to pass. Most of them, they're, let's say, NNPC side, whereby they want diesel, they want fuel.
Basically oil and gas.
Yeah, oil and gas, basically.
Are there no other areas that are interesting them? Because, there are quite a number of things we can do in country, areas that appears like we have not completely explored. But when we see new investments, if they are not interested in oil and gas, we see them go to hoteling.
Hospitality, yes.
Hospitality. Are there no other areas where we can,
farming.
For instance, you drive from here to Benue and all, you see mango. It's mango season now. You see it littering everywhere.
Yeah.
But when you step out of this country, you see freshly packaged juice around. Look, it doesn't have to be a big country. Like you said, Kaduna is bigger than Lebanon. Who said you cannot set up and just serve the Kaduna market?
Of course.
In other places it is eggs that we are not getting enough. We were talking about the last time, the statistics that were saying at least every child deserves one egg in a day, or a glass of milk in a day to improve brain power, bone capacity.
That's
and
true.
all. These are all business opportunities. Why are we finding it difficult to? Dangote was saying the other time you need less than 250,000 cars to provide the milk that we need as a country. But yet, milk is one big thing we keep importing. What's the problem really?
Right now, the way people think is that if they go into farming or breeding, they are not going to get the profit they're thinking of. Because they think in a way, okay, if I invest this amount you invest in, if you invest it here, it's going to bring for you profit. But if you invest this same amount 10 times, you're going to get 10 times the profit. People don't think of it that way. People think of it, we have a problem right now is that no one thinks of long period profit. No. They want the profit now and they continue. They don't have any problem if after 2 days or 3 days they don't have food. But finish, they want their profit now. Long term, the government from one side is trying, and the people should also try. They should try in a way, okay, when you invest, give it time. Give it time. Go for a long time investment, whereby every month you have, like a profit that's coming in. But don't be greedy and say, no, I want just this one right now, and later on I'll see what I can do.
Interesting. We have been talking with the CEO of AAA Investment. Interesting combinations there, and also the CEO of the Alibaba restaurant. He tells us that that will be expanding to other cities soon, as soon as things settle. It's been wonderful talking to you, Ali.
Thank you very
Ali
much.
and Baba. Even though Baba had moved on, Ali is still here. And we wish you all the best. And all
Thank
of us
you
are
very
looking
much.
forward to that time when everything will be settled.
Sure.
And myself and Ibrahim can perhaps stop over for a stick.
Yes.
You need to.
And de-stress.
Exactly. And decompress a little bit.
Decompress. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Thank you very much for showing up at such
Thank you very much for you guys.
And I hope when things speak, we'll come back again and discuss
of
more
course,
on what we can do to improve small businesses.
Sure, anytime.
Well done. It's been a wonderful conversation here with our friend in the studio who has given us perspective, whether it is in the areas of opportunities or the difficulties that small business are enduring. I hope you have learned one or two lessons. And those of you who are tinkering with the ideas of going into business, I hope he has inspired you enough to make that bold step rather than thinking of jackpotting. At the end of the day, if all of us jackpot, then there will be no Nigeria to return to. Thank you very much for allowing us free access into your living room, and I hope we have provided you some entertainment. I am Sunday Michael Ogu. Let's do this again tomorrow.
All right, it's been a fun ride on Trust TV's Daybreak this morning. Just like he said, why don't we do it all again tomorrow? I am Ibrahim Yusuf.